what I thought I'd talk to you today was startup products. Now, we don't necessarily need them, do we? We can buy everything online. We can have everything delivered directly to our clients. But part of training in naturopathy and herbal medicine is that we have the herbs and we can mix for our client on the spot. Now, what I always recommend to my students is that they band together and buy the herbs. Initially, they will buy a starter pack, and then after they've bought the starter pack, they share it out, because there's some things you're going to use a lot of, but sometimes you'll just end up, even if it's something you'd use a lot of, you end up drop dosing it. Obviously, this year we had a lot of antivirals we wanted to purchase, and so they were quite hard to come by for a little while. We wanted immunity boosters. We wanted all of the herbs that are going to support our well health. And so they were in really high demand this year. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, and welcome again to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. And of course, I'm Geraldine. How are you going? So now we've talked before about POPs. That was way back when, in the beginning of the podcast. When was it? We talked about practitioner-only products in episode 3. And what I thought I'd talk to you today was startup products. Now, we don't necessarily need them, do we? We can buy everything online. We can have everything delivered directly to our clients. But part of training in naturopathy and herbal medicine is that we have the herbs and we can mix for our client on the spot. Now, what I always recommend to my students in college and uni is that they band together and buy the herbs. Initially, they will buy a starter pack, and then after they've bought the starter pack, they share it out, because there's some things you're going to use a lot of, but sometimes you'll just end up, even if it's something you'd use a lot of, you end up drop dosing it. And so you really don't use much. So you'll have to excuse any rustling in the background, because I have actually written notes because of all the herbs that I wanted to talk about today and the products that I wanted to talk about today that you may or may not decide to have on your shelves. And you may decide that, because it really is as fast to get things delivered these days, is that you just use an online store and they deliver directly to your client. There aren't as many companies mixing herbal tinctures for you. There are a couple of companies that do it, but they haven't necessarily got all of the brands of the herbs. And, you know, we've got a really good choice here in Australia, an amazing choice here in Australia of herbs. And of course, they're all TGA facilities that make them, and they are of incredible high standard. And as you know, I chat a lot with Christine from the Herbal Extract Company, and we talk about herbs together. I hope you've been enjoying those herbal conversations. So of course, there is, as well as MediHerb, there's Optimal RX, who are also they're not just doing the tinctures, the alcoholic tinctures, but they're doing glycetracts. And then we've got PPC herbs as well. So we've got 4 really amazing, 5. So we've got bioceuticals as well. So we've got 5 really amazing companies. Now, when they make them, they go through very, very strict, stringent procedures. It really is what it says it is on the bottle. And I do recommend that people club in together and get their starter kits together. So when you're in college, you get together a group of people who have decided they are going to go into one-on-one practice. A group of you buy the starter kits. The starter kits are amazing. And of course, they come with the measuring cylinder and labels and things like that. So if you all buy a starter kit, then you can all swap, and some people can just buy labels and cylinders, measuring cylinders, and the little scrubby thing that washes the cylinder. Although my husband put it in the dishwasher and it came up sparkling. I was like, oh, you put that in the dishwasher? Oh, look, it's beautiful. Of course, it's glass that's meant to be able to deal with high heat. But anyway, almost killed him. Then had to say nice things. So, but you can buy everything in the starter kit. And if people buy the whole starter kit and you buy some bottles, then it means that people can buy half the bottle off you, so that you don't have to have 500 mils of each and every herb that you purchase. So some of the ones that, I thought I'd go through with you are some of my favorites, and the favorites list gets bigger and bigger all the time. And some of the I hardly ever use does actually tend to get smaller. And we tend to use things that are more in our niche than other things that aren't. Obviously, this year we had a lot of antivirals we wanted to purchase, and so they were quite hard to come by for a little while. We wanted immunity boosters. We wanted all of the herbs that are going to support our well health. And so they were in really high demand this year. But, we need the other ones as well. And on my shelves, I have a number that I make sure I always have. So, Albizia, Andrographis, Astragalus, they're always there. Bakel skullcap it sometimes runs out, and then I discover it's run out when I don't realize. Aniseed, never bothered. Bilberry, I do have bilberry. I find that with the flavor as well, it's a good one to have on hand. I don't really have bacopa. I tend to get people to have the tea. Calendula. Now, there's a low alcohol version and from MediHerb, and that's the one that I purchased because I actually put that in. And if you're in the academy and if you've been a student of mine in Adelaide at Endeavour, then you will have the recipe for my acne aloe vera tincture gel, and that of course contains the low alcohol calendula. Now, California poppy, never been without it. Chamomile, you could get away without that one and get them on the tea. Vitex, always got it in. Now, the Chenpea and the flavor mix from MediHerb, I find them really, really useful because obviously compliance with the herbs can be a real problem. And so I do have often, everything's in alphabetical order in common name order. I will be honest, they're in common name order. They're not in Latin name order. But I have one corner that's got all the it's got ginger up there. It's got licorice. It's got Chenpea. So that's the mandarin peel. And my own, I've made stevia, and it's got stevia up there as well. So that I've got all the flavor things and the flavor mix up in that one corner so that I can just grab what I think is necessary for my client. Cinnamon, I particularly love the herbal extract cinnamon. I think that is the most beautiful one that I've come across so far. Coleus, I've always got some of that in. Dandelion root, I don't think I've ever bought dandelion leaf, to be perfectly honest. Echinacea, burr marigold, that one is because of course I treat a lot of children, and so the burr marigold I find really good for lots of the bugs that the kids have. So I do have that in. Now, some of the really specific ones that you probably don't need unless, you'd buy them specifically because they're really needed specifically for that person. Like bitter melon tastes foul. They're much better off having a tablet in my humble. Black cohosh, so you don't need that unless you've got menopausal ladies. Bladderwrack, so there's bladderwrack from all the companies, but Optimal have developed a new one. So it's not a new one, I guess. The kelp's always been there, or the seaweed's always been there, but they source their seaweed from Dunedin, so it's contaminant free and it's very, very low dose. So if you do get that one, if you decide that you're treating people who need bladderwrack, which of course the iodine and the thyroid, then you will be wanting to share that bottle with somebody else. Blue flag, 100% you want to share that bottle with somebody else. You'll never use it probably. I think mine's out of date, to be honest. Boswellia, you never want the liquid. The liquid actually sticks to the jar, to the bottle. So completely pointless having it as a liquid, and it's beyond foul. So tablets there, folks. Blaplarum. I discovered some of that the other day and threw it out. So I bought it and I don't think I ever used it. And then I was called a heathen by a friend who does Chinese medicine and that I should always have Blaplarum in, but no. Now, cayenne. Now, only one person in the universe should buy this bottle because you literally only need to put 1 ml in a bottle. So, or even less, because it's so spicy. So think about that, who you can share a 500 ml bottle with, at least 10 people before you get any cayenne. Celery seed, don't think I've ever used it. Damiana, and Danshan, Dongquai, well, don't get your false unicorn, far too expensive. But all of those, the female hormone ones, are you working with women and their and their hormones? And if you are, then yeah, it's probably worth getting those ones in. If you're not, really think about it and let that one just settle for a bit until you rush out and buy them. Now, elder, I always have elder in. Eyebright, I've always got eyebright in. Fenugreek tastes pretty foul, so I give that to people in tablet form. I think in the academy, I've got my lymphatic, I think I have. Or maybe I've just told them in the academy, I do actually have a lymphatic cleanse that involves fenugreek tablet. Now, gentian, that's another bottle. If you buy a big 500 ml bottle, you can share that one because you only need to put 5 ml in a 200 ml bottle to aid absorption of that herbal mix. So gentian is one of those ones where this is when I was training and I thought I'd made the perfect mix for this person and I couldn't quite figure it out. And then I said to one of the lecturers, I'm sure I've done this right and I can't figure out why it hasn't worked. And he turned around and he said, just put 5 ml of gentian in. It's because she's not digesting it. So she's not able to uptake it. And so it's not working for her. I put 5 ml of gentian in, which made it taste horrible, mind you, but we got our result and it started working. So major change there. Ginkgo, I always have that in. I use a lot of that, but that might just be my client group, for the asthma as well as for my older person. So, and there's contraindications with that as well. So obviously one to be careful of. Globe, artichoke, I do keep that one in, and I've got some golden seal. Now, golden seal, of course, comes in different strengths. So you've got the 1 in 1, 1 in 3, and 1 in 5. And if you've got a 1 in 5, you don't actually have to use any more than you would with a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 1. Yes, well, 1 in 1, you'd probably use considerably less. But if you can only afford a 1 in 5, then I'd get the 1 in 5 because you will use it. It's all farmed. So there has been the discussion about it being endangered, but of course they can't pick endangered herbs. So it's all farmed now. Gotu kola. I love a bit of gotu kola. So I've got that in. Now kava, you can only get the Mediherb kava because of course that's a glycetract and they're the only ones who make it. Korean ginseng, a bit expensive, but lovely. See if you really need it. I'm a bit of a Siberian ginseng kind of a girl myself. Lemon balm, always a goodie. We talked about the flavor mixes, lime flowers, pelargonium. Now, I tend to use that more in children than I do in adults, but I was told the other week by someone that they use it in adults and they get a really good result. So that's worth really thinking about. Now, pleurisy root, I feel is a totally underused herb and one that I love for the lungs, and I use it a lot. Romania, love the rhodiola. Who doesn't love the rhodiola, right? So sage, I get people to have sage tea. Fresh sage leaves, I think works very, very well. Schisandra, I've said Romania. Siberian, I've already said. Erythro. So skullcap, St. Mary's. You're going to have St. Mary's in, aren't you? Now, Thuya, that's one to share because it's very, very low dose, very short term. So you might want to really share that bottle around as well. Withania, chances are you'll be getting a full bottle of that and keeping the whole bottle. Ziziphus, do love a bit of Ziziphus. I'm a bit of a Ziziphus girl, but you can probably share a bottle because it's relatively low dose. Pomegranate's a good one to have in as well. So don't forget that one. So that was sort of my mini list of herbs that you might be thinking about getting. Ones that you can certainly share with a cayenne, blue flag, pokeroot, thuya, thyme, and myrrh. You can 100% censure that. And gentian, of course. Blue flag. Oh yeah, don't bother with blue flag. You're never going to use it. Cayenne, 100% share that. Now, if you did want to have a small dispensary, I find that one bug killer is always good. I'll just call it that and leave that as around one, and everybody can figure that out for themselves. A shelf-stable probiotic is always really handy to have in. Slippery elm. I do like having something with slippery elm in it on, in my rooms. Obviously a magnesium, an iron, a zinc. The bog standards that, if you don't end up selling them, the family will end up using them, chances are. So that is my, my little startup suggestion when you first get your first starter kit. And I think the starter kits really are amazing value. And every single herbal company has a starter kit. So you can keep getting starter kits if you want to. So you don't have to spend out large because they're a much cheaper price for you all. And so you can get a starter kit from each and every company. And that works very, very well when you're starting out if you get those starter kits. So we will leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget to check out all of the things and perhaps even give me a review if you've got time. So at the iTunes podcast, that would be absolutely brilliant. So it's been lovely chatting. And don't forget to look me up on geraldineheadley.podia.com. And I will look forward to seeing you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.